Everyone, please put hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. Someday.
All right. Okay. Flag salute, what is next? So I'll read about 6 or 7 names to get us started. Sandy Beaches, Andy Graebner, Harriet Elliott, Clara Solis, Jeff Bree, Jeremy Payne. If you've heard your name, come on up to the left side of the chamber. All right, Mr. Graebner.
You don't get to call me Andy. All items in general comment.
Good morning. So you have 3 minutes for the items and
Called
1
you
minute
Andrew,
for...
sir.
All right, so we have 15. That is a motion from Gregorian and Staffer B for copper wire theft. As we all know, that's a big issue. It's not. So I see multiple mentions. We have $20,000 for LAPD overtime and $80,000 for LAPD overtime. Which one is it? Which one is it being distributed? We don't know. Is it the lesser amount or the larger amount? Or are you now combining it? It's now $100,000 for this really just bizarre issue that it's just funneling more money for overtime for cops and CD2. That's what Gregorian likes to do. We have 16. That is a motion introduced by Gregorian, but it's from Officer Tracy and Staffer B, related to transferring people experiencing homelessness into mental health treatment beds. That doesn't clarify whether this is attempting to do forced treatment of unhoused people, forcing them onto medications or things like that, when they might not even be having a mental health crisis to begin with, or or you're forcing treatment on them that's going to make them more sick or cause more issues. And it's just doing all kinds of treatment and forcing all kinds of medication onto them without their consent. So I'm wondering, so if that's what this is, then it needs to be rejected. And housing and services for unhoused people. Let's see. We have 19 related to contracting and invoicing processes for homelessness service providers. Anything else? Okay, let's move on to it's item 14, I think, or it's item 12, I believe, that related to.
It would make the meeting more efficient if you read these in advance.
I'm looking at the agenda. I know, I'm looking at the agenda, Bob. We have 12, which is related to Charter Reform Commission. So you need to make sure that it's a robust Charter Commission, and we don't want, we don't want elected officials nominating most of the members to this commission. We don't want, Karen, currently, what is it going to be? Karen Bass, who's, involved in all kinds of scandals of her own. Gregorian, who can't even appoint anyone to the Ethics Commission. It's like, we don't want that. So we want people who are not appointed by the people who are the reason why we need all this reform in the first place, nominating people.
General public comment?
And you don't actually care about charter or ethics reform anyway. As I said, Gregorian can't even nominate anyone to the Ethics Commission, even though he was supposed to like a year ago. I don't know where he is today, but he needs to nominate someone to the Ethics Commission. You're all just sitting around. None of you are even paying attention. McCosker's chatting with the staffer. Padilla's chatting with her staffer. Let's see. None of you are actually paying attention. And even if you are looking at me, you're not actually going to process people speaking. You're not actually going to process what we say or take it into any consideration. You've all pre-decided what you're going to do, and what you're going to do is screw over the public and, continue to be racist. De Leon and Price need to be removed from committees, and they need to resign.
Thank you.
Harriet, go ahead.
Good morning. Which items would you like to speak to?
Okay, 7, 1, and 6, I think. Anyway, what I'm talking about there is all of these lighting districts are being refused. They're telling the consumer to pay the assessment. Well, first of all, we were told there's brass that is being stolen. So we'd like to know what these assessments, why there's a problem with the lighting. Were the consumers told about this? And you need to keep us updated on this problem. But what I find very funny is that this number 7 shows that when you have a majority on the street lighting district, with the people that recommend it, then everything changes, the majority. Then you tell the consumers you don't have to pay the assessment. I find that very interesting that when you have a majority, then you don't stick to people with the extra assessment. And why I say that is because in my own case, I'm a targeted individual. And if you thought we were just having very, very few people, then stick it to us. My favorite person like myself is named Renee Pittman, and she says there's thousands of people with voice to skull.
So, Speaker, I can't tell which item you're speaking to.
Okay, I just went into my own case. And also, by the way, the first assessment district is where my son was killed, okay, on Arlington 27th. But, of course, Ronson is more west. But anyway, I'm moving over to the 20 people who were killed around my case.
Okay, so I'm going to give you 1 minute for general public comment.
Okay. My mother was one of the first that was killed. She would have said, Harriet, why is your son being accused of being in a gang? Did you ever hear the police talk about this? Did police bring him home ever? No. Then you need to investigate. My mother was killed by them removing the oxygen tube of her. She had COPD. And she called me from Bakersfield in the nursing home that she's temporarily in. This is a crime to make my mother dementiaed. She wasn't dementiaed before she went in the nursing home. The next person killed was my sister because she said Obi, my son, showed no signs of pedophilia, meaning I never let my son get around any pedophiles. She had to be killed. The reason I even think like this anymore, I read Henry Hill Mafia, and it said, oh yeah, okay, my sister had to be killed.
Okay, so you have 1 minute.
Our future is at stake. I'm sure all of you have children and grandchildren or family members who are younger who will be facing a future. In 2035, we're going to reach the point of no return on climate change, and we need to protect our trees now. They are a lifeline. Cutting down trees and replacing them 4 to 1, those new trees aren't going to provide us with any benefit for 10 to 20 years. We need our mature, protected trees now. I urge you, please act now, because we're not doing enough. We know we're not going to make it to 2035, where we need to be to stop drastic things from happening. We're going to have more climate refugees. We're going to face a dire future. You need to act now, please. Thank you. Do the right thing.
Good morning. Which items would you like to speak to?
Item 12 and general public comment.
Okay, so you have 1 minute for the item and 1 minute for general public comment.
So, Grote, I just want to wonder aloud why Councilmember Price and Lee don't have to recuse on this item. They have pending enforcement actions, potentially facing triple the fines if this thing passes and their cases get delayed. That sounds like a financial interest, potentially. At a minimum, Charter Section 222 should be considered. Moving on, I just want to note, get a little Latin in here. Res ipsa loquitur. The thing speaks for itself. This council has gone 1,623 days without addressing corruption with a reform in law. We have had 4 council members indicted in that time. The thing speaks for itself. I don't know why we keep on talking about a lack of accountability. Everything we're talking about gives the council the ability to veto policy for moving forward. We're talking about the voters being able to weigh in on reform. Do you think they're happy with 4 council members getting arrested in the last 4 years? Our ethics commission is being referred to as unaccountable. How many of them have been arrested? Were they conspiring behind closed doors to rig district maps? This policy proposal, thanks to the amendments being proposed, would provide 0 consequence for council not acting. This is so short-sighted. Trust in government matters, and not just for good, fluffy reasons. There is a 50% sales tax being moved at a county level. I'm going to vote for that thing. But the number one threat to your measure at the ballot is a lack of trust in government. Moving on, I just want to note, with this Charter Reform Commission, there was some interesting discussion at committee level that independence is not important in the charter reform process. That's just really cynical, but I want to refer the chair to the state constitution, which says that the public has the power to move measures forward and amend the charter. They can do an initiative. Does the Constitution give you the power? Does our city charter give you the power to amend the charter single-handedly? Absolutely not. It has to go through the voters. So this idea that independence doesn't matter, we have seen this council struggle for a year and a half after the Fed tapes to do anything to reform itself that's going to take place in any meaningful time. I don't want to be back here in 2 years having you guys just water down and sit on charter reform and maybe not even move it forward.
Good morning. Which items would you like to speak to?
Thank you for graciously taking my comments today. I'd like to speak on items 20, 16, 12, and general public comment, please.
Okay, so you have 3 minutes for the items and 1 minute for general public comment. Please begin with the items.
Great. So let's start with item 20, brought to us by Krikorian for Rubin and Lee. So this is regarding illegal removal of a protected tree and shrubs. Now this is a vacant lot in the hillside, sort of like north. If you're at the Comedy Store and you just go straight north and a little bit east into the hill, you'll run into this lot. I don't know why we're building out more empty lots in the hillsides, creating more luxury homes that really most workers in LA can't afford. But especially, I think it's important we acknowledge this illegal protected tree and shrub removal, and that we do pursue this. I do want to call attention, however, to the fact that the same council member, Rubin, who's one that brought this to us not long ago, filed for a CEQA exemption to remove several old growth trees to build a mansion estate, also in this hillside, but more towards the valley near like Tree People in Laurel Canyon. So it's interesting just when they decide that it's cool to rip the trees out of the ground in the hillside and we don't need to worry about the environment, or when they decide to pursue legal action, and it's the same council member, so-called progressive Nithya Raman. So then let's go to item 16. People are just itching to institutionalize folks. We have a health crisis, a mental health crisis, and it's not because people are just so individually inept and crazy and have issues. It's because we live in a society where we pay taxes to send weapons into war, and we're hungry and we can't pay rent. And so you would have to be a little bit crazy for that to not fuck you up a little bit, right? But instead of dealing with the underlying issues, we give ourselves ways to institutionalize people, and I really think that's not okay. So item 12 is a motion that really it seems like no one who is chiming in is happy with, except for the council. Katie and Hugo were having a nice chat over there. I wonder what they're talking about. I just want to clarify some things, though, for some union members. I grew up organizing with my dad, who was vice president of his labor council of the National Association of Letter Carriers. Unions are important to me, but nothing about the proposed reform would make a rank and file union member a lobbyist unless they were specifically being paid to show up and lobby. And independent expenditures filed during campaigns by 501c4s and unions are huge. That's why Ethan Weaver got so close to beating Nithya Raman in CD4, because the police union and fire union put so much money behind it. So as a proponent of unions, I think we also do need to recognize where they can be corrupted and get in our way. We've got Kevin De Leon on committees, and Curran Prices too. Paul must have forgot what he said about committees. Whoa, 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 whoa. So you blame your workload. Well, my friend, I'm busy too. That's not an excuse for committee reassignments. No, it's sad Nithya Raman broke every promise, and how she quickly gave up on holding Kevin accountable. Get these criminals off committees. They don't deserve to stay. It's bullshit that they're on committees. Whoa, whoa, fuck you, Paul. That one was for Officer Clark because he told me he liked Journey.
It's a shame to do that to a Journey song, but well, so that will close our comment here in the council chambers.
All right, 10. With all the closed businesses, graffiti, and lack of sunshine and rainbows in the area, maybe we don't need another bar. If you're going to continue to push poison on the community, maybe you guys should at least go door to door and, hand out kisses, because I think most people prefer to get kissed before they get fucked. Why doesn't the city council just open up a city council-funded crack house or a cat house? Get some pink at the house that stinks, or maybe a daycare. There's better things you guys can do than open another bar. 11. With Target pulling most of their Pride Month merch, do you really think that you should reward them with the ability to sell alcohol? I thought that you're all, LGBTQ allies. God knows how much we're going to have to listen to Monica drone on and her support of Pride in June, over under 4 hours of council time. Let's see, 12. For the ethics, I nominate Damon from Smoke and Scan. I think with all of the predators attacking our black and brown communities, I think we should start focusing on the apex predator in these communities, the white liberal. Read what Malcolm X said about the Dem Party.
So is this your general public comment?
Oh, thank you. What Stacey did to Journey
is
better
general public
than
comment.
what you've done to L.A. People talk about perversion and degrading ways that ladies are talked about. I want to go on record saying that Brock Landers does not support people talking about ladies that way. When Brock Landers talks about the ladies like Calamity Girl, it helps with a flesh fluid lubrication, and it's like Christmas came early because they know Brock Landers doesn't. If you think I'm wrong, watch a council meeting on Smoke and Scan. See how excited they get when they have a chance to be, the people's pie. Shout out to Stacy and Paul. You need better jokes, bud. If you want to shoot me an email at brocklanderslapi@gmail.com, I'll help you out, buddy.
Next caller.
Cool. Thank you there, brother. Quick question. Hey, is it possible for us to maybe get chewing gum banned on Figueroa? Because the other day I was down in Figueroa, I was trying to help this.
Nothing that's happening on Figueroa is on our agenda today. So speak to the agenda items, or you can go to general public comment.
Well, I was trying to see because I was trying to see if I can get something done about chewing gum down here on Figueroa. Is that a thing?
No, that's not on our agenda. So speak to the agenda or go to general public comment.
So, well, let me get general public comment then, brother.
Okay, so you have 1 minute for general public comment.
I appreciate that. Anyway, as I was saying, I was down on Figueroa with this chick. I was trying to, help her up her Yelp score on the head game, and she had chewing gum in her mouth. which is a problem there because apparently I'm allergic to magnesium silicate. I'm doing my little thing there in the mouth, and my shit swole up. It got really red, and it looked like I had been got hit from a thundercat. And I don't understand why these chicks have to have gum in their mouth, because some of us have issues. And I wonder if something could get done about that. Maybe we can like I said, ban chewing gum, or have some restrictions about when you chew gum there, because you could really hurt somebody. And right now I have a scratch, cut, and scarred dick, and that's going to be an issue there. So if we can get something done about the gum, that'd be cool. And I want to say shout out to the smoke scan community. We had to do a big thing. Shout out to Brock. Brock, you're doing good today there, brother. Keep him honest there, my man. And Stacy, hey, love you singing there, baby cake. You doing your thing there. And
thank you very much. Thank you very much. Next caller, please. We'll take 2 more callers.
Let's go with 12. This needs to be relooked at. When Paul Krikorian appointed Hutt, there was no accountability to that situation. He should have been held in some kind of contempt for doing away with the democratic process. But there is none there. So for us to put the fox in charge of the chicken coop, no, that shouldn't be there. You guys appointing the people that are going to oversee you, that's just not the way this is supposed to be set up. It's supposed to be set up for ethics. You appointing them makes no sense whatsoever for a greater future. Same thing to the unions. If you stop contributing $250 million to the elections so you can have your way.
So, Speaker, you've exhausted your 1 minute on item 12. Please move on to another item.
Let's go to general public comment then.
Okay, so you have 1 minute for general public comment.
721 and all the iron workers and everyone are there. If you don't want to be recognized as lobbyists, quit contributing money to the election. You give up $250 million to get people elected. And then when jobs come available, you show up in a pack. I get it. We all want the work. I've been a union worker all my life. And when I asked for your support, I told you very clearly, I do not want any kind of monetary help just to be able to lead you in the future. How much did you contribute to Emilio Padilla? How much jobs are you going to get out of that? Okay, so when you don't want to be recognized as something, then don't do what lobbyists do. Show up and give financial support to get that in return. The fire department, police department keep asking for monies, and we keep giving them money, and then they turn around and support candidates.
Speaker, your time has expired. Next caller.
Thank you, sir. And it was stated this morning, and justice for all someday. What guts does it take to say that? You want justice for all? How about
Speaker,
right
I'm
now?
going to ask that you stick to the agenda items first. You can speak to this during general public comment if you'd like.
Sir, I'm talking about item 12 again, sir. Justice for all is item 12, justice for all. Is it now? Are you going to be showing justice to everyone, or is this a bad deal for everyone, sir? Item 12, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the unions that come before you, and those with power and those without power, and making them lobbies. Is there justice for all with that, sir? That's all I'm asking. Is there justice for all? How about the homeowners who are just trying to hold on to their properties, their community from the homeless criminals? Is there justice for all in that, sir? The gentleman stated justice for all someday. Today is that day. Let's see what this council does today for justice for all. And one last thing, public comment in regards to Sam Rubin. I met the gentleman 4 times, and he was the kind of individual like former Councilman Hal Burnson. They would see you in a restaurant. They would cross the room just to say hello to you. That's what kind of a man Sam Rubin was, and that's the kind of man that I admired in Hal Burnson many, many years ago. Thank you, and I appreciate the time.
Thank you very much, Candido.
I introduced this last week to address a crisis that our homeless service providers are currently facing. which is that in the city they're not receiving timely payment for the critical work that they do. We have been alerted to this issue a number of times in our own district and have intervened with LASA and with our payment providers to address it on a one-off basis, but this has become a systemic issue. Some of the larger service providers that have multiple contracts with the city are owed so much. They are taking out millions of dollars in loans in order to make payroll and make lease payments on their sites. And while they will recover those funds when the payments are ultimately made, they're not going to recover the interest rates on those loans that they're taking out. Smaller service providers, because of how much debt they're carrying, are virtually unable to do business with the city. And that's bad for our system. That's bad for everything we're trying to do on homelessness. If you can't pay your rent, you face eviction. If you can't make your car payment, your car gets repossessed. But for these agencies, they haven't been getting their payment, and now I think the city will finally start potentially to see consequences in the form of agencies being unwilling to work with the city going forward. This is a dire, dire situation. I think we can head this off. There are real inefficiencies in how we do contracting and invoicing and payments. The Budget Committee and the Housing and Homelessness Committee have both been addressing this in their discussions. I think we need to move more quickly in order to resolve this issue, and I urge an aye vote. I also see that there was an amendment put in by Councilmember Hernandez, and I'm willing to accept this as a friendly amendment if we can strike out the term LA County CEO from the first piece of the amendment.
And it sounds like Councilmember Hernandez accepts as friendly the proposed
friendly
amendment to her amendment. So
yes.
With that, we will consider that amendment to
Thank
have been
you.
friendly to the underlying
Thank you very much.
matter. Okay. Makes sense, everybody? Okay, so we will be taking this up as amended by 19A with the change in language that Councilmember Rahman just indicated.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Soto Martinez, followed by Councilmember Harris Dawson.
Yes, thank you so much, Council President. First of all, I'd like to just really thank you, Councilmember Rahman, for highlighting this. I've been listening into the budget hearings, and this issue has continued to come up many times. So I want to say everything you just said, because I completely agree, but from City 13's perspective, you know, when we came in, we said we're really going to put some more resources and energy into homelessness. It took us a few months, but we finally were able to get a contract with a service provider. And we just heard from the service provider that they don't want to do business with us anymore, and because we haven't been able to pay them in time. And so when I think about the urgency of this crisis, that was incredibly difficult for me to accept. But nonetheless, we said, let's go find another service provider. Well, because of the reputation of the city, many of them don't even want to do that. And so it's a serious issue, and thank you for bringing it up. But we know that this is not an issue that is because of the city clerk's office. Those folks work tirelessly. They do so much with so little. So I want to thank you all for the work that you do making the city run. But I think this motion is really about looking at other ways we can be more efficient and actually get this moving. I know it's much larger than just contracting with homelessness providers, but we know this is the #1 issue. We know this is what the voters expect from us. And so, again, I want to thank you again, Councilman Rahman, for highlighting this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Harris Dawson, followed by Councilmember Rodriguez.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Council Members Rahman and Soto Martinez, for this amendment. I want to, if you all bear with me, I want to tell a little story and then make a comment that speaks to this issue but is a bit larger. Some folks know that I was the executive director of Community Coalition before being on the council. I took over that job from a woman named Karen Bass, who's the mayor at this moment. And before I took over, she gave me a list of things to do and not do as the CEO of this organization. Number 3 on that list was never take a contract from the city of Los Angeles, because it will take too long for them to pay you and you will have cash problems. And she said, I know this based on experience. That was 15 years ago now. And here we are facing this same problem. I would offer this to that. We don't treat all contractors the way we treat social service providers. Some contractors are on a retainer. So I never hear a law firm that the city attorney's office does business with. I never hear a law firm come here and say, I haven't been paid. Haven't heard it. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen, I haven't heard it. Construction companies, folks who do work on our infrastructure, physical labor, there are different arrangements in the way their contracts are paid, what accountability they have. I mean, we have a system where an organization has to do the work, gather the receipts, send them to the city, and then wait for the city to say, oh, yes, your receipts are okay. We can pay you for work that you did 3 or 4 months ago. And we just don't have enough organizations that are big enough to float that kind of cash. And so I think this is something that we need to come back to, look at in a harder way, given the social challenges that are facing us in this moment, and how much we need our social service organizations to be strong and healthy and have a good backbone.
Thank you. Councilmember Rodriguez, followed by Councilmember Padilla.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Mr. Harris-Dawson, for using that example, because in public works, for example, there are a lot of small business owners that can't sustain themselves after they've already done the work, or subcontractors. That's the case with all contracting, but the bottom line remains is that there has to also be measured outcomes associated with the contracted work. And unfortunately, when we talk about a lot of the homeless services area, that's where we're seeing a lot of redundancies and duplication in outreach services and a variety of circumstances. So I think while I understand the need for us to streamline and accelerate, I have a motion that's pending helping to bring greater efficiencies to even having that accountability, to having those very measured and explicit outcomes associated with that work, because there's multiple layers of people doing the same thing. And that is also a big challenge. And going back to Mr. Soto Martinez's point, when you have the city clerk strained with very limited resources, and there are other emergency orders that are helping to jump the line in terms of getting invoices paid, that's what's also hanging out a lot of these service providers out to dry. A lot of contracts aren't getting paid because there's just limited bandwidth in the clerk's office. And that's part of the difficult conversations that we're having in budget right now. Because as we continue to invest all this money into all these other agencies and contract services, what is being shortchanged in that are the very city workers that will help facilitate them getting paid on time. And so there's a balance. And these are the difficult conversations that we have to have in budget. But I just want to be really clear, is that for me, there will never be an exemption of accountability born out of the need for expediency. We have to have both. These are the taxpayer dollars, and we have to act as such and make sure that we have accountability and outcomes associated with the work for the contracts that are being issued, because we know between whatever council office, we know, for example, just on outreach services with respect to homelessness, over $47 million of taxpayer money is being used to contract that out. And that doesn't include money that the county is also investing from Measure H and any other independent efforts associated with this important work. So I just want to be really clear. While I appreciate the nature and the spirit of this motion, we want to do that for every contract in the city, and it should not be exclusively limited to the social services, because the reality is that we need small business owners, contractors, and the like to be able to continue to sustain their business, because they're actually also keeping people employed. And we need this economy to remain strong. And the only way we're going to do that is if we have more accountability, measured outcomes, and most importantly, accelerating the payment time for a lot of these businesses to be able to keep the doors open. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Padilla, followed by Councilmember De Leon.
So I just want to echo that I think everybody's right, and I think this is a very good start to have this conversation related to the speed in which nonprofits are getting paid back for contracts with the City of Los Angeles. But I agree with Ms. Rodriguez. Outcomes and accountability should always be a part of it. But, it's no secret that I too have family members that are in the business of applying for grants and executing grants, and everyone hates City of Los Angeles grants. Close to $50,000 sometimes owed by some of our departments for no reason at all. So I applaud that we're starting to have this conversation as it pertains to the homeless crisis and those service providers, because those are the ones that we want to see succeed, given the way that our streets look. But this is definitely systemic within this building, and I hope that we can continue to have a conversation about how we improve that. Because keeping a small nonprofit from funds like that determines whether they can keep their staff and whether they can continue to service the communities. So just wanted to make sure that I support everything that everybody is mentioning already.
Thank you. Councilmember De Leon.
Thanks a lot, Mr. President. I too want to add my comments to, listen, as the district that has created the most interim homeless housing units in the entire city of LA, we work with 3 service providers. And I do want to recognize and congratulate Ms. Rahman as well as her staff for working on this issue, an issue that I've been talking about for years now. I got Volunteers of America, VOA. I got Hope the Mission, as well as Union Station. And those workers are primarily workers of color. They're either black or brown. And those workers are that close to being homeless themselves. They're that close to being homeless themselves. I often go visit, the tiny homes, and I engage with them, and amazing people. And they take some abuse, no doubt about it, because homelessness it's a tough issue. We're dealing with the whole spectrum of mental illnesses and drug addictions, issues that people have carried with them all of their lives and all that trauma. So they're in an environment that's not an easy environment, but oftentimes, the pay is not good, and then you compound that with the system that we have, because we have a systems issue here that doesn't treat them with the respect and dignity that they deserve. I see Ms. Yvonne Walker here, as well as others here in the audience. That may be a new group of folks that need to be organized to demand the respect and dignity that they deserve. But I'm really happy that this motion is before us and that we can vote for it collectively, because, again, engaging with these folks every single day, it breaks my heart, because I know a lot of them are that close to being actually a prospective tenant in one of those tiny homes, whether it be in my district or elsewhere throughout the city of LA. So I just want to add my comments, as well as urge an aye vote on this measure by Ms. Rahman. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. All right, there's no other members on the queue, so members, this item as amended is now before us. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the votes.
15 ayes. Colleagues, today I ask that we adjourn in memory of Sam Rubin, who passed away unexpectedly on May 10th at the age of 64. Sam was born on February 16th, 1960 in San Diego, California. From an early age, he demonstrated a passion for media, entertainment, which led him to pursue a degree at my alma mater, Occidental College, in American Studies. Sam's career began in the 1980s as a freelance writer. His big break came in 1991 when he joined KTLA-5 as an entertainment reporter. And for many of us native Angelinos, Sam was among those that helped. He was a regular fixture on our home televisions, along with Carlos Amezcua and so many other, the KTLA family. He's someone that I remember just watching very fondly, because he just had such an affable, kind spirit. And that has been reflected amongst all the individuals that have been sharing stories about their experience and their interviews with Sam, how just incredibly generous and kind he was, and how he made everyone feel that they were the most important person in the room. Over the next 3 decades, Sam became a household name, known for his engaging interviews and deep understanding of Hollywood. Beyond his work at KTLA, Sam contributed to various media outlets, authored books, and appeared on national television programs. His expertise and enthusiasm for entertainment made him a sought-after commentator. Throughout his career, he received numerous accolades, including multiple Golden Mike Awards and a Los Angeles Emmy Award. These honors reflected his dedication and impact on the field of journalism. His unexpected passing is a significant loss to the journalism community and his many fans. However, his legacy endures through his groundbreaking work and the positive influence on those he had around him. Sam is survived by his wife, Leslie Rubin, their 4 children, Rory, Perry, Darcy, and Colby. His contributions to entertainment journalism will be remembered and celebrated for years to come, and his ability to bring joy, insight, and authenticity to his work has left an indelible mark on all of us. Thank you, Sam, for your incredible work, the warmth you brought into our lives. My deepest condolences go to his family, his friends, KTLA 5 colleagues, and all the members of the journalism staff who he touched, irrespective of which outlet they worked for. Everyone had the same thing to say about him, that he was just a kind, generous human being. And this loss is being felt across every media outlet. May he rest in peace.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Soto Martinez.
First of all, I just want to say thank you for bringing his life and legacy to here at this horseshoe. If you grew up in LA, you grew up watching him your entire life. He worked at KTLA, which is one of the last local news stations, which is in CD 13. And so I just want to send my condolences to the entire KTLA family and the Rubin family for their loss.
And I would like to request that's an all-council adjournment.
Thank you, and I think that's especially appropriate. Sam Rubin was, of course, a legend in entertainment reporting, but probably even more important than that, for over 30 years, he was a constant positive voice, as you say, a voice of kindness, who uplifted people throughout the city and united people throughout the city, really, for over 3 decades. That's a remarkable legacy of achievement and something that doesn't happen very often in a city that is often so divided and that reinvents itself so often. To have one person for 30 years be a voice that brought us together is a rare achievement. May he rest in peace. Any other adjournments, members? Seeing none, go forth and serve the city well, members. Thank you for your endurance through this. We are adjourned.